Hello, welcome to week 5 of Nursing 1000. So last week, just to recap what we did last week, we went over test taking strategies and a little bit of NCLEX prep. You got into the NCLEX test plan so that you knew it existed and to sort of see what was offered there. I think that's important. In the past, we've had students who didn't even know that existed, the NCLEX test plan. So I think it's a great thing as you get towards the end of nursing school and you're preparing for the NCLEX to be able to look through to see if there's any content areas that you really need to focus on that you're a little weak on. You also did your time management calendar for 1 week, and that was the goal of that was to get you looking at your calendar and seeing if that's working for you or not. Some of the initial calendars were, had the courses and whatnot, but weren't very specific. So in order to really keep track of your time, you want your study calendar to be very specific. So not only what hours are you going to be studying, whatever days of the week, but also what content. And don't forget to leave yourself a little extra padding so that when life happens, you still can stay on task. This week, you'll be reading chapter 5 of your textbook. We got this greeting recording, a second recording that sort of goes over the lecture, and then an additional recording, a YouTube video about the Pomodoro technique, which can be used to help with students who have issues with procrastination and motivation and staying on task. So it's a study technique that I think is super effective. If we keep going on, your discussion board posting this week is sort of reflection about your first nursing exams and your skills checkoff. And then you have an activity. It's one of similar to what you've done in the past. It's a rewording activity. So you'll get practice questions and you'll just have to reword them in a sentence or a question. So some things to consider this week. The first thing I noted here is just a reminder of our nursing policy that students must get a 78% or higher in the exam category, which is 96% of your total grade. Before the 4%, oh lordy, before the 4% category will be added. In all courses except NUR 1000. So this course is a little different since it's a pass-fail course. The grading is a little bit different than your other courses. But like in your foundations course, you have to have a 78% or higher on your exams before the 4%. So that would be quizzes or other assignments. That 4% part of your grade is added for your final grade. Usually the 4% grade will raise a student's overall course score, right? But I'm saying it because when you look at your grades, you want to first look at just your exam grades and make sure that grade's over the 78%, because that has to happen in order for that 4% category, which usually will bring the overall grade up, to be added into the grade for final grades. Another thing I want to point out is remember that there are many, many points yet to be earned. So if on your first exam you didn't do as well as you had hoped to, remember that there's a lot more points to be earned. So sometimes I met with a student this week who was a little bummed, maybe 2 points under passing. And it's interesting though, because if the student had been 2 points above passing, majority of students are like, all right, at least I was above the 78%. But you guys beat yourselves up if you're 2 points below. And in the big scheme of all the points to be earned in a course, we've had one exam. There's a lot of time and opportunity to bounce back from just being 2 points under a passing grade. So just remember that. Don't beat yourself up too hard. You're just getting used to this new style of testing, and see what you need to tweak and change going forward. And remember, there's a lot of points left to be earned. If you're interested in tutoring, you can sign up again in Building B at it's known as the Academic Service Center. Most people call it the Testing Center. So you'd go in and talk to likely the woman who works at the front desk there, Leilani Kaiser, and she would be able to get you set up with Sister Pat. You can also reach out to your lab instructor regarding tutoring. Mrs. Wargo's for math. Mrs. Wargo's doing math tutoring. So if you're having math issues, you can reach out to your lab instructor, see how to get in touch with Mrs. Wargo regarding math tutoring. Another support system here in the nursing program is Sue Kafis. She's our success coach. So if you're having additional problems or want some additional support, we can also get you in touch with Sue Kafis. So please reach out to me if you're interested in success coaching with Mrs. Kafis. Other things I wanted to mention, remember I was a little lenient in the beginning about due dates, and I know everyone was navigating and learning how to use the Canvas for this online course, but going forward, any late or incomplete assignments won't get full credit. So make sure for Nursing 1000, you're getting through the recordings and getting that first discussion board posting, the initial post by Wednesday at 11:59, and then everything has to be completed and wrapped up by Sunday at 11:59. For this week's discussion board post, it's about your experiences with your first nursing exams and with your skills checkoffs. I just wanted to remind you that only share what you're comfortable sharing. So don't feel like you have to put all your business out there or things that you don't want to share. Just share what you're comfortable sharing, and don't share your grades. So we don't need to put our grades on the discussion board. For the rewarding assignment, we've done one in the past, and some students were overachievers and really listed their rationale and sort of what they were thinking. All you need to do is put one question or one sentence to reword the test question that's provided to you. And I gave you an example. When you get to the assignment, this rewarding assignment, in the instructions, it'll give the first question that you're going to see. It's about platelets. But it gives you an example of what an answer would look like. So it tells you the patient's platelets are 6,000. What's your priority concern? Something like that. And you would just write, what am I worried about for a patient who's at risk for bleeding? Something very simple. So your answers for that assignment should only be one sentence or one question. You don't have to explain, because the platelets are low, I'm thinking that they're at risk for bleeding. I'll get that if you've included that in your rewording. So this is sort of a part 1 of 2 assignment. This week we'll reword the question, and then next week you'll have answer options and you'll try and pick the correct answers for the questions that are listed. Lastly, just let me know if there's something you would like covered in this course. So if you want to see more math, a couple questions of math every week, that's something we could do. If you want to hear more about self-care, pretty flexible. So if there's something that you're struggling with, just shoot me out an email and I'll try to incorporate it for the next week. All right. Well, you guys have a good week 5, and let me know if there's anything you need.